So today, how I ended up with 2 keys from 2 different breweries. How did that happen? Also, how I made some crystal malt. Well, I think I made some crystal malt. And I will show you how I fixed my wonderful bottle washer 24. I promised somebody in the comments, so I will show you. Also, how I got loose smut on my barley and what I could have done to prevent getting it. It also involves a better way of harvesting, threshing and drying your barley. At least I think I found a way that suits me really the best. It's very simple. And finally, I got to brew my beer from scratch. Yes, this is my yeast. I've got 4 bottles. 2 different mixtures. One was really fruity, the other one was more funky. As you can see, it really separated. A little bit of yeast at the bottom. Well, actually quite a bit of yeast. Don't be afraid to, keep them for a long time in the fridge. It's still alive, If we give it something to eat, it will kick right back into action. And I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of breweries are a little bit afraid to use Brettanomyces. Not because it's difficult to kill, you can kill it pretty much in the same way as any other kind of yeast. It's just, if you left some, it will continue to live. Because take away simple sugars and it will find something else to metabolize. It might be ethanol, it might be an acid like lactic acid. It might even be a phenolic component. I always find a weird word, phenolic. So yeah, I make a little split batch and just to see which one I prefer, the fruity or the funky one. Maybe I end up using them both as one culture. And I will show you how I quickly made my tiki-bar. It's pretty much finished. It only needs a little outside kitchen so I can brew some beer outside and heat up my hot tub in the same time, which is also installed right now, so it's all there. I think this summer I will be finally able to brew beer and be warm at the same time. So it was the end of last summer. I got a call from the owner of one of the oldest farmhouse breweries around. He was stuck in the US, and he was looking for somebody, to keep things rolling, brewing his beers and handling some deliveries until he could make it back. And I have to say, man, I seriously love these real farmhouse breweries, the kind with equipment made from old milk tanks. It's simple, raw, full of character. And yeah, this is a real farmhouse setup. It's made for brewing real farmhouse ale. And many of these breweries, they have grown out of it, they ended the business. But after 10 years, this one is still around. Over the years, they also brewed some really wild and funky barrel-aged beers. It takes full dedication, creativity, handcraft, and a real sense of what kind of beers suit this place and this process. And then, not long after that, I got another call. This time from the former owner of a brew pub. He closed the pub, but he held on to a small 1 BBL brew house. And he asked if I could help him set up a Pico-brewery. At just 150 liters, I had to say it's almost homebrew sized, but it's the complete opposite of a farmhouse brewery. Here, every step of the brewing process can be controlled with, precision. This setup is perfect for brewing to style, crisp lagers, fresh hop beers, clean profiles. Right now I'm helping him maximize the output and streamline the workflow, making sure that not a single liter or hour goes to waste, because when brewing such small amounts you have to be super duper efficient. And of course I'm brewing too, filling a few kegs along the way. The owner has asked me several times now if maybe I wasn't interested in buying his equipment. And I have to say I have been toying with the idea of doing so. because well, I love working with a setup like this, and yes, it would be nice to have something like this on our farm. Behind me, my little barley field. Also this year I planted some barley, but I did not put a lot of time or effort in it. I was away for pretty much the whole summer. I think I spent one day just plowing the field, ripping out as much weeds as I could. Clearly I missed some because there's quite some weeds in my field, but I'm okay with that. It's about learning, and well, I definitely learned a few things. The first thing that I learned is this year I gave the barley a little bit more space to grow. Last year it was really cramped, and a lot of barley just developed 4-6 seeds maybe. This year much better. Some are really beautiful. They develop a lot of big seeds and plenty of them. So this year my barley looks actually better. Another thing that I learned was at the beginning I found some plants and the seeds turned black, and when you touched it, it fell apart. It was really like powder, turned into powder, and I found out it's called loose smut. And this loose smut, the plant, it's like a fungus growing on it, and it didn't pick up the fungus from the ground or from the air. No, it was already in the seed. So they were bad seeds. You can also have a fungus that grows on the outside of your barley, and that's when the conditions are just too wet. When you seed too late, and the whole plant just stays very moist. But that's something else. This loose smut really comes from bad seeds. And I think I know when that happened, because these plants are from the seeds from last year. And last year when I was drying my barley, I made these bundles and I hang them also outside on the porch. And well, especially the bundles on the outside, they were quite damp. I could feel that the bundles were quite damp. And I think that's when I picked up this mold or this fungus. Another thing that I noticed, the ones that I had inside the stalks, my bouquet of lovely dry barley, it dried better inside. You do. It's the ones on the porch. Yeah, they also even don't smell so very nice. I mean, it's just a teensy bit damp, but it does mean that it has a harder time falling off. There's not so many. Maybe it's the ones on the porch that were hanging on the outside. I don't know, but I have some that are a little bit damp. Maybe that's another reason why next year I should just keep it really short. You know, just the heads. I think that is plenty. Then it might actually be easier to dry because you don't have so much mass. So the seeds got infected, and then when I put them in the ground, yeah, it took over the whole plant. Luckily I was on time. I picked them out and it didn't spread. So this year I will do better. I will try to do better to dry my barley. A lot of my barley starts to look like this. It's really droopy. It really points towards the ground. When it's droopy like this, yeah, it's as dry as it gets. It doesn't get any drier. Right now this might already have less than 12% of moisture. So this is perfect, and a lot of my barley looks perfect. Of course, not all of them. I mean, there are some that are quite green and upright still. But yeah, I have to pick the moment. And it might start to rain tomorrow. And well, if it rains tomorrow, then all the ones that are perfect right now will be less perfect. So today is the time for me to harvest. And I think I'm going to just take the heads. Last year I made stalks. This year I'm going to try see if I just take the heads, less space. We will find out if that was the right choice or not. But I like to try out new things all the time. So yeah, let's harvest. I mean, doesn't that look good? So last year, since I harvested my barley so very dry, I only took the heads off. I did not make any stalks, but I just simply kept these barley heads in fermentation buckets inside. I didn't have to hang it outside somewhere where it might actually get more damp than it came off the field. So I would say this worked really well for me. It didn't take up much space, you know, much better. And it also makes the threshing of the barley really easy because you don't have all these stems and leaves. It's just the spikes, the heads with the kernels. As you know, I already made base malt before. So I know I can create some base malt. But now I want to take it a step further and I want to try to make crystal malt or caramel malt, same thing, while simultaneously making my base malt. I don't know if it's going to work out, but we will see. At least the plan is to make several layers in the oven. So first a thin layer that will hopefully dry out first. That will be my base malt. And then the thicker layers, well, hopefully they will remain more moist. And then if I can raise the temperature to, let's say, 100 degrees Celsius, I should achieve some caramelization. And then my oven died. I have to do this at home. I say shoot because I don't know if it's going to work, but we will see. All right. I made it a little bit wet again because it already turned a little bit dry. Do one with just a little bit more, and a lot. So my oven is set to 50, but I'm reading, well, 70, 71 degrees. So I guess that is the temperature I'm going to roast my malt. There's not a lot of options. Okay, well, I put the malt in and then the temperature dropped. So I'm just going to play around with the temperature, see if I can just get it somewhere between 65 and 75. We'll see. Heat it up a little bit. Okay, well, we're in it for half an hour. The temperature pretty much stayed stable at 65. It just dropped 1 degree, of course. But maybe that's the takeaway for today. Set your oven, make sure it's at the desired temperature, and then put in the malt. Because yeah, with these, you know, home appliances, it's really difficult to really set it to the temperature that you want. You know, I've set it to 60, but in reality it's 65. Ah, there it is again, 65. I'm just curious how it looks like. Let me. It's still very wet. Of course, I don't want to really leave the door open because then the temperature drops too much. But yeah, this is very wet. Maybe I should not have added the water. Let's see the one with the little bit of malt. Well, of course that is drier. Also still pretty wet though. Back into the oven. Right, luckily the temperature didn't drop too much. Maybe I should just leave the oven door open a teensy bit. Alright. See if that helps. Okay, well, it has been almost 2 hours. And yeah, I think I might actually be onto something, because the one tray where I didn't have that much grains on it, they're pretty dry. I think they might actually be done. And the temperature hasn't risen above 70. I pretty much kept it at 65 all the time. Alright, base malt. And then I'm going to spread these out. Crank up the heat, 90. Alright, of course with higher temperatures we're going to neutralize our enzymes. But that's what you get when you make a specialty malt. Set the timer. Okay, well, it has been almost half an hour. And I see that the top already has a nice color. And it is also pretty dry. Maybe I take this one out. Batch number 2. Alright. "45 minutes. This is even more, has more color. This really looks, it starts to look like special B. Perfect. Number 3. I think I will crank up the heat a little bit more. I don't know. Let's say 130, something like that. See what happens. Right. Number 4. Definitely looks like roasted malt. I think now it's dry. I'm not sure how much caramelization we get. It smells nice. Tastes nice. Really nice. Okay, well, I leave the other one in for just a little bit longer. Okay, my oven starts to make some noises. So, oh, that's this. Sounds like popcorn. They start to pop. So that means I think I'm done. That is really fun. Well, I definitely made some crystal malt. I think for if we really want to make a strong caramel malt, just go in with a higher, start with a higher temperature when it's more wet. I think then you get a more caramel. But yeah, since it already started to pop, I don't know, I didn't want to continue. This feels good. It smells really nice. So I think for now I'm happy. With the next malt I will try to make a little bit more of a darker roast. But for now this is nice. Right, taking a closer look at the different malt, it's clear that we have one real winner. Since I didn't have much time to work on my little project, I stored these, and it's clear that number 1 was just way too wet. I'll see if I can zoom in on it, but it just got moldy. On the little tips you can see it just got moldy. The same for number 2. Yeah, number 3, absolutely winner. It's super dry. It lost also all the little roots. They all came off. And if we shake it, we can see it at the bottom. And nice, crisp, smells good. Number 3, perfect. And then of course number 4, yes, also really good. Nice and dry and crispy. And has a really, yeah, real caramel smell and taste. Yeah, yummy. Sweet. Well, my malt might taste like a crystal malt, but how does it compare to a few commercial malts using the standard EBC mash method? Did I manage to make something close to a caramel malt when it comes to color? So I did a little test. I mashed 4 malts using a simplified version of the EBC standard mash. 25 grams of crushed malt, 200 milliliters of water. Kept it at 65 degrees Celsius for 20 minutes. On the one side I used a very light Pilsner malt, 2 to 3.5 EBC, basically the palest base malt you can get. And then on the other hand I used a very dark specialty malt, Special B, 270 to 350 EBC. And then for the mid-range comparison I used a biscuit malt, 47 to 70 ABC. And then I let it sit for a while so all the sediment dropped to the bottom and then the colors really popped out. And then if I do a simple side-by-side color comparison, I would say my malt lands somewhere around 20 ABC. So that puts it just inside the starting range for crystal malt. So I would say not bad. I didn't really hit any dark caramel territory, but it does look like, you know, my batch sit in the light caramel malt zone. Maybe like a caramel 10 or a very pale Caram Munich. I would definitely say a Caram Munich, a light Caram Munich. And then next time I'm really going for the Special B. I will start way sooner with a higher temperature. See how that works out. Are you a proud owner of a FastWasher 24? You are? Well, then your washer probably looked like mine. Broken. Look at it. Pathetic. Weak. A disgrace to bottle washers everywhere. But fear not, I have spent minutes, yes minutes, researching a solution to fix your washer that is guaranteed to work. Step 1. Accept your fate. Take a deep breath. Say goodbye to the naive version of yourself that thought this washer would work without flaw. That person is gone now. Step number 2. Gather your supplies. You will need duct tape, zip ties, pure determination, and of course a dramatic soundtrack. Step number 3. Fix it like a pro. Now carefully, very carefully, reattach the pump connection using sheer willpower. When it fails, because it will, smother it in duct tape like a toddler wrapping a Christmas present. Secure with zip ties in a way that makes zero logical sense, but somehow works. Step 4. Test it. Turn it on and watch in fear as it sputters to life. Is it leaking? Probably. But is it technically working? Absolutely. Success! Step 5. Celebrate. Throw your arms in the air, blast victorious music, and pretend you knew exactly what you were doing the entire time. And there you have it, folks, a perfectly functionally FastWasher 24 held together by hope and questionable engineering. Okay, but without silliness, yeah, the part holding up these pumps, they break off way too easy. It's just too much weight hanging on this connection. It's the wrong kind of plastic. It's a bad design. But if you leave the little piece in the pump, then you have the same diameter in the pump and in the washer. And it's very easy to find a piece of hose that just fits perfectly in both parts. My local homebrew supply shop used to have like a box full with bits and pieces of all kinds of hoses. I found a 9/16 inch flexible hose and it fits perfectly. So just simply cut a piece about 2 inches, 5 centimeters, stick it into your pump, put the pump down, and you can place the washer just on top of it. You know, the hose will fall into the washer as well, and it creates a really snug and tight fit, and it works perfectly. I had a dream to build a tiki bar, and like all great tiki bar stories, mine began with a broken hot tub abandoned in someone's backyard. Being the reckless optimist that I am, I decided this was the perfect foundation. So first I removed the heavy parts, pumps, motors, anything that looks slightly important. And then, armed with, well, a complete lack of experience, an overestimation of my own strength and the help of my wonderful neighbors, I built a ramp and somehow wrangled it onto a small trailer. Then, with my life flashing before my eyes, I set off, navigating an intricate network of back roads like some sort of fugitive, except my getaway vehicle was a hot tub on wheels. But against all odds and local traffic laws, I made it home in one piece. And then the next step was building a sturdy platform for my hot tub. Naturally, I used my old wine barrel rack from the brewery because, well, nothing says structural integrity like repurposed alcohol storage. And yes, I even poured some concrete and used actual nails. Truly, no expense was spared. And the tiki-bar / wood storage, well, it's practically done by now. It's a beautiful Frankenstein, if I say so myself, of old pallets, discarded corrugated metal, extent poles and trees that were voluntarily retired. So now all that's left is to build the outside kitchen and brewhouse, complete with a giant stainless steel cooling spiral, well, to heat the hot tub, obviously. And once that's done, hopefully my wife might finally accept this entire project as something slightly more than an aggressively impractical hobby, or something more than a creative detour in adulthood. The adult version of building a treehouse.